Are you in prison, constrained by your daily responsibilities and tasks, unable to really enjoy the life that you envisioned when you began as a small business person or an aspiring entrepreneur? If your answer is yes, and I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, you're at the right place at the right time. Thanks for joining us on NxBizSuccess. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker, and I have a couple guests today you've got to hone in on. They've got a system that will free you up and allow you to realize your unbending realization, your vision, your destiny. And I've got Marty Smith here with me. I got Jim Barger. They're with ActionCOACH in the Eastern Nebraska area. Guys, thanks for joining me on NxBizSuccess.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, pleasure to have you here. Hey, what is the vision? You guys are coaches. There seem to be coaches everywhere these days, but every small business person I know needs advice, and I have a feeling that's what you provide. What's your overarching quest? What are you trying to get done every day?
Our idea is world abundance through business re-education. We think that every business owner is in business for their own reasons, and it's up to them to figure that out. And they usually get too busy to do that. So we help them kind of stop and figure, why am I doing this first? Because in our culture, we're all doers. Until we know why, it's very hard to figure out which way to do it.
You know, Jim Barger, I want to ask you this. The name of your organization is ActionCOACH.
That's right.
And yet, as Marty just said, it seems like there's a strong emphasis on introspection, right? Values clarification, planning. Then it's not really action at all. You should call yourself inaction coach, actually. No, I'm teasing you, but really, don't you place a great deal of emphasis on this kind of this inner, almost intuitive process?
Well, we do, because you know, a small business or medium-sized business is being driven by the owner. And so for any change to take place or something to be done differently, it's the business owner that has to make the change and has to define the new direction that they want to go. So it is all internal to the business owner.
It really is. And then the business owner kind of projects it outward. Maybe doesn't articulate it very well either, huh?
That's right.
All right. Well, listen, you've got a 6-step system as part of the ActionCOACH system. And there's 6 steps, but we're going to talk in this podcast today about the first 3 because you really want to kind of dive into them a little bit. So, Marty Smith, why don't you tell us about step number 1 in this whole system that you guys provide as a compass or a map, right, to small business people?
Right. Yeah. We start by thinking that every business goes through the same sort of evolution, and unless you understand where you are in the process of evolving, you're not really sure what to emphasize.
Yeah, that is so insightful. Evolution goes on whether we like it or not.
That's right.
And it's so we're either going entropy or we're growing, one or the other. So you're obviously provide a proactive. So what's the first step in the system? Let's get going.
It's the step that most people like to skip. It's called mastery. And we basically break it into 3 areas: time, team, and delivery.
Okay.
Well, and 4, money. Delivery is for some, but time, team, and money are the keys. And the idea is that unless you know how to measure and how to evaluate your time, your team, and what you're doing, the money, you don't really know how your business is doing. So you can't build a business until you know where you're starting. Like any map, unless you know where you're beginning, how are you going to plan where to go?
You know, it seems like such an important, fundamental subject, but I got to tell you, I mean, there are a lot of businesses around that really still don't have their hands around time and team. I mean, it's elusive, it changes. Today I got a lot of time, yesterday I had no time. I used to have a great team, now I have kind of a bad team. What do you do for somebody like that, Jim?
You've got to make sure that they have a system in place basically to monitor that. The monitoring of mastery is the important thing, knowing what your numbers are on a daily basis, weekly basis, and being able to measure what it is that's happening in their business. If they don't know where they're at, they can't very well move to another level.
Yeah. You just said a word that I hear coming up again and again in your discussion of success for small business people, and that is systemization. Marty, tell me, what's the deal with, I mean, most of us think we've systemized whatever we can. What's the big deal with systemization?
Well, leverage is important because you want other things, you want to do what is interesting to you. And unless you can take the tasks, which we all get good at, and make them systematic so that you don't have to think about them, and so that you can in fact give them to somebody else when it's possible. You need to build systems so that you can concentrate on what's important to you, why you're in business in the first place.
And so many people get into it, they say, what do you mean? I get up every day, I go to the office, I run my business, I solve some problems, some of them I fail at, some of them I succeed at. I go home, flop into bed, and I ask myself, what am I doing every day, and where's this all taking me?
Nowhere, basically.
Yeah, nowhere is exactly right. So that's step number 1, mastery. Jim Barger, what's step number 2?
Step number 2 we call niche, which has to do with basically, we call it competition or no price competition. We want to make sure that small business owners and business owners work in a range where price isn't the only determining factor in their customers working with them.
Now that's a very important thing, always, but especially in a recessionary cycle where almost everybody thinks there's no way I can grow my business unless I lower prices and my costs are going up and my margins are going away, and so that's a tough issue.
Yeah, it's a big crisis for people. They tend to, first thing they do is tend to discount, drop the prices in order they think they're buying business back. But we want to make sure the business owners have a way of avoiding that and deal with marketing in a way that doesn't focus on price, focuses on value.
All right, now Michael Porter, as you well know, said, you know, if you're not going to be the low-cost provider, then it means that you need to differentiate, be some kind of a specialty provider or customize yourself or whatever. What's your approach towards that? How do you help people get this done?
Two ways mainly. A unique selling proposition. You've got to really work through the process of knowing why your product or service is unique to you, and you have to spend a lot of time really working on that. That's where a lot of creativity and innovation can come in.
Yes.
And of course it isn't permanent. Other people can copy you, so it's something that has to be ongoing in determining that. And once you have that in place, then you can, one part of that might be a guarantee. What is your guarantee? What do you offer that other people don't? And those are the ways to make sure that you're offering something that isn't just price sensitive and focused on.
Good. You're talking about marketing, and it's so important to the small business person that's watching these podcasts. Tell me about your pipeline management system, how we need to think about leads and how it turns into money in the bank and so on. Quickly go through that for me if you would, Jim.
Sure. Action believes that there's 5 key parts of your business.
Sure.
Typically we tend to think of customers generating sales or revenues, and then that's going to give us profit.
Yeah.
But those are all results of things that we do. The top thing is generate leads, getting people into your business. Then we're going to convert them into customers. That's going to give us our customer. So those 2 areas are important to measure. Then you have the average sale of each of your customers, the number of times they buy from you, and then finally your margins is a 5th area that you can look at. So
if you can improve each of them just a little bit, you can really realize some tremendous double-digit growth in the margins.
That's right. If you can just get 10% increase in each of those 5 areas, you'll hit a 60% increase in your profitability.
Enormous, enormous. Marty, as we wrap up here, talk about step number 3, systems. What's the deal there? We talked about it once briefly already.
The whole idea is to allow yourself to focus on what's important to you and to build that culture in your business so that everybody understands that we continually have to improve and tweak and make differences. Kaizen is the Japanese term for it, but it's all these small steps that make life simpler. We think that 80% of your business can be automated. That leaves you time for the 20% which needs to be individually addressed.
Right. Well, our technology guests would certainly agree with you. They're all about systemization and automation. Well, Jim Barger and Marty Smith with ActionCOACH in Eastern Nebraska, business coaches, I really appreciate you sharing the first 3 steps, in your 6-step system. We're going to investigate the last 3 steps in the next video podcast, which I'm eager to do with you soon. So thanks for joining us on NxBizSuccess.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you. You've got to focus in on what it is that you really want to do. Stick with the goal, claim your personal mission, automate the rest, systemize it so you can actually end up where you planned on going when you began. Keep on going and keep on growing. Thanks for watching NxBizSuccess.